As Niv said, we're going to hear a little bit from the Bible, because we're going to look at a passage that we're going to be thinking about right the way through the summer from Acts 17. And we're going to hear the first part of that in a moment. But before we did that, I thought I'd just sort of think with you about something. And think with you about how some things are just really badly wrong. You can think about that. Some things just not as they should be. Let me explain what I mean. The Olympics have just started, haven't they? So we're very excited about the Olympics. And I thought that this morning we would begin with our own Olympics event. Now, strangely, this particular event has been chopped from the Paris Olympics. I can't imagine why. It's a very creditable event, and it really deserves more featuring than it should have in the Olympics. But I think the egg and spoon race really deserves a little bit of attention this morning. So we're going to have our own egg and spoon race. We have our reigning champion. Where is he? Scott. To the front, please. Scott is our reigning champion, and I need to find out if there are a couple of contenders who are willing to take on Scott in the egg and spoon race this morning. Anybody ready to go? You ready to have a go? Excellent, very good. One. Now this is an open event, so we probably need someone female to go with it as well. Yes, you gain. Oh, sorry, you were just too slow. I'm sorry, that's very sad. Maybe, I wish I had 4, and then you could have joined in. Okay, so now, the course is from the bottom of the stairs to the finish here. Okay, there's 3 things you need to know. First, you've got to be very careful on the stairs. Second is that we've got a new carpet. Third is that I haven't hard-boiled the eggs. So here we go. Okay. So it's very important that you're very, very careful, right? So come on, we'll go to the back and we'll get the race started. Okay, just talk amongst yourselves for a moment while we get the race going. It's going to be very exciting. Well. Now, as we all know, when an event takes place like this, there is always a gold medal for the winner. But imagine how terrible it would be if I didn't give. You need to be very brave here. If I didn't give the medal to the winner. Maybe I gave it to the person who was second instead. It'd be wrong, wouldn't it? Or maybe I gave it to last year's champion. Yes! Or maybe I just gave it to a random person in the crowd. Excellent. Now, you're all thinking that's just wrong. Shouldn't be like that, and it's very upsetting for you, isn't it? And you're being very, very brave. See, some things are just wrong. Here's something else that's wrong. Imagine if in the real Olympics, Keely Hodgson, our gold medal hero, storms to victory in the 800 meters. And they don't give the gold medal to Keely. They give it to some random bloke in the crowd. I mean, imagine how upsetting it would be. Just be wrong. Or take another example. What if you were really poorly? And you thought, I need some help, I'm so unwell. But instead of getting help from a doctor, you didn't do that. Instead of getting help from a nurse, you didn't do that either. No, you decided, I know, I'll get help from a car mechanic. I mean, it'd just be wrong, wouldn't it? It's just not right. Well, some things just aren't right, and they're really upsetting. Well, we're going to look at a bit of the Bible now, and in this bit of the Bible, there is something that's not right, something that's really wrong and is upsetting. I wonder if you can notice what it is. So you can grab a Bible, find yourself to page 1113. Lottie is going to come and read these verses for us.
chapter 17, verses 16 to 23. While Paul was waiting for them in Athens, he was greatly distressed to see that the city was full of idols. So he reasoned in the synagogue with both Jews and God-fearing Greeks, as well as in the marketplace day by day with those who happened to be there. A group of Epicurean and Stoic philosophers began to debate with him. Some of them asked, "What is this babbler trying to say?" Others remarked, "He seems to be advocating foreign gods." They said this because Paul was preaching the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. Then they took him and brought him to a meeting of the Areopagus, where they said to him, "May we know what this new teaching is that you are presenting? You are bringing some strange ideas to our ears, and we would like to know what they mean." All the Athenians and the foreigners who lived there spent their time doing nothing but talking about and listening to the latest ideas. Paul then stood up in the meeting of the and said, "People of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription: 'To an unknown God.' So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship. And this is what I am going to proclaim to you."
Lottie, thank you very much for reading for us. During the week, as I sometimes do when I've got an all-age talk to give, I consulted my good friend Richard and asked him if he got any thoughts on this passage. The best he came up with really was to say, perhaps we could pretend that Areopagus used to be called in the day hairy octopus. That was his contribution. So thanks, Richard, very much for that. Okay, now, back to the script. The thing is that there was something that wasn't right in Athens. Anyone spot what it was? Yeah. Exactly, the city was full of idols. But maybe we're not quite sure what that means. Well, idols are things that you make so important to you, so absolutely central to you, that they become like the thing that you worship. So an idol is something that, I don't know, when things are going badly, you go and hope that the idol is going to make you feel better. Or when you're feeling sad, it's going to cheer you up. And when you need some help, you go and ask the idol whether it will give you some help or not. And Athens, this city where Paul was visiting, was full of these statues and idols. Well, I got to thinking, what would that look like today? I mean, you walk around Cambridge, you don't see lots of altars and statues everywhere, but I think it may be that we do still have lots of idols here in Cambridge. I wonder what you think they might be. I've got some suggestions for you, and I've got some help from two most very willing ministry trainees. So Hannah and Shiny are going to help us. So you've got to think very quickly. Okay, this is high speed. Okay, and you've got to tell me what you think the idol or the thing that people worship might be. Okay, here's the first. Okay, what do we think? Suggestion? Education. Yeah, education and learning. That's right. Next one. Sport and fitness. Yes, very good. Oh, look, they're not keeping up to speed. It could be Australia, but we won't go there. What is it? Holidays, yeah, holidays and leisure and all that kind of stuff. No, you've forgotten your, so that we have a, oh, there we go. slightly trickier, this one. Okay, what's this one? Yeah, image, fashion, looks. Yes, very good. Okay, good. Work and achievement. Yeah, work and achievement. Got the work bag. And here's the last one. No, it's not quite food. Got to pay a bit more attention. Health, yes, health and well-being. There we go. Round of applause for the two. High speed. Very good. So lots of things that we get excited about. Now, here's the funny thing. See, none of those things are bad, are they? Good to be healthy. Good to have a holiday. Lovely to keep fit and enjoy your sport. There's nothing wrong with any of them. They're all good things. But here's the thing, they're not God things. Something's not right when we take these things and we make them the biggest thing in our lives, the most important thing in our lives, so that when we're feeling a bit down, it's one of these that we go for to make us feel a bit better. When we feel as though things aren't going very well, we look to one of these to cheer us up and to make us feel that life is okay again. Because when we do that, we've turned them into things that we worship. We've said, this is the thing that makes life all right. This is the thing that's most important. This is the thing that I live my life for. And when I've got lots of it, life's good. And if I'm short of it, well, life's not so good. These things are gifts from God. They're not supposed to take the place of God. But that's so often what happens. And that's what had happened in Athens too, in different ways. So we're gonna sing again now, and then we're going to think about what Paul did when he saw how things were in Athens. And the song we're going to sing reminds us that it isn't any of this stuff that should be top priority in our lives. It is Jesus, who is the name above all names, who should be at the top. Okay, so remember where we were. We're thinking about Athens, a city was full of idols, full of the wrong kind of gods. Gods that people worship when they weren't really gods at all. And we thought about how we can do something very similar, maybe without even realizing it. We can let things that are good things become so important to us that they become the thing that we worship, the thing that rules us, the thing that we organize our lives around, the thing that makes us feel good when we're feeling down. And it should be God that does that. But we let these other things get in their way. So that was the thing. Now, who can tell me what Paul thought? The Apostle Paul, and he arrived in Athens, he's all on his own because his friends have had to stay somewhere else. What did the Apostle Paul think when he saw all of these idols being worshipped in Athens? Anyone notice from the reading? Still got it open. Tell me what he thought. Anyone spot it? Yeah. He was distressed. Thank you. That's right. He was. He was greatly distressed. When Paul was waiting there in Athens for his friends to catch up, he was greatly distressed to see that the city was full of idols. And there were two reasons for that. The first is because he knew it wasn't good for them. It wasn't good for the people in Athens to have all of these gods that weren't really gods at all. And that's a bit like our sick girl who, instead of going to the doctor or instead of getting help from a nurse, goes to a car mechanic. It's just not good for her. It's not what she needs. It's a big mistake. It's something that's very wrong and it's bad. And do you know the same thing is true? When we make any of these things what we live for, it's not good for us. When these things start to take control. when work and achievement starts to take control of us and we can't stop going to work, when being fit and young and healthy is the most important thing to us, and then we find we can't stay fit and young and healthy, and it does things to us inside. See, in different ways, all of these go wrong. We make those the most important thing to us. It doesn't work. It's bad for us when we do that, when we worship something that isn't God instead of him. But that wasn't the only reason that Paul was upset. There was another reason as well, and that was he was upset on God's behalf. Because it's not right for God either that other people, other things, other idols are being worshipped in God's place. See, and that's a bit like Charles over there having the medal around his neck when it should be over here with Mark. See, it's not right, and all of you feel a bit upset about that. Rightly so. And it's just the same for Paul. Seeing things that weren't God being given all the praise and the worship, when it should have been the Lord God, who's the true God, and he deserves all that praise and worship. And something in Paul is greatly distressed that God isn't getting the honor that he should be getting. Upsets him, wants to do something about it. So what does he do? Well, he begins to speak. He begins to tell them about the God that they don't seem to know anything about. And you see it there in the middle of the passage, that he begins to be talking to them. And he talks to them first about the good news. He says, look, I've got good news for you. I wonder if maybe you're here for the first time this morning and you've never quite understood that this Christian message is good news. It's not dull. It's not something that's going to sort of make your life a little bit hampered. No, it's good news. It's something excellent and wonderful. Something to celebrate. Something to rejoice about. It's brilliant. Nothing dull or grey about the Christian message. It's good news. And then secondly, Paul says it's about Jesus. It's about a person. It's not about a distant God that you can't really find and you don't know where he is and he's just sort of out of touch with you. No, it's about Jesus who's come close. Jesus who's come right into our world, saying amazing things, doing amazing things. It's about Jesus. It's personal. Somebody you can know personally. And then he says, and it's about the resurrection. It's good news about Jesus and the resurrection. That's what I want to tell you about. It's about Jesus who has defeated death and brought eternal life to people who trust in him. It's good news about Jesus and the resurrection. And do you know what the people said? They said, blah, 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 blah. They said, he's just babbling. It's gobbledygook. Don't know what he's saying. What's he on about? That funny bloke talking about foreign gods. Some of them thought that Paul was talking about two gods. And that was probably because he was talking about Jesus and the resurrection, and they couldn't quite understand it, and they thought, oh, so it's Mr. Jesus and Mrs. Resurrection. That's what they thought. They thought there's two gods, Mr. Jesus and Mrs. Resurrection, and that's what Paul was on about. They couldn't make any sense of it at all. What a terrible thing. But Paul wasn't finished yet. Listen to what he did. He got invited to speak at the Areopagus. And when he got there, he stood up. This is verse 22. He stood up and he said, "People of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, 'To an unknown God.' So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship, and this is what I am going to proclaim to you." See what Paul says? He says, look, I've had a look round, and you're so religious. that just on the off chance that you might have missed out a God, you've added in a sort of to an unknown God, just so we can cover all of our bases and we can be very, very sure that we've got all the gods sorted out there. But Paul says, look, what you don't know, I do know, because God has revealed it to me. It wasn't because Paul thought he was cleverer than other people. No, it was because Paul had been shown something. God had revealed himself to Paul. And so Paul said, and I want to reveal this God to you too. Because it's like you can't see it. It's like you have a sense that it must be there. And sometimes when we are chasing after this kind of stuff, it's like we know that there's something really worth living for. But we can't quite work out what it is. Well, Paul says, I'm going to proclaim it to you. And over the next few weeks on Sunday mornings, we're going to listen to the rest of Paul's speech to these people in Athens. And we're going to think very carefully about it as we try and listen to what it is Paul had to say. And can I say that as we do that, can I ask you whether you might be willing to listen with two attitudes, if you like? And the first of those is to be humble. Now, it may be that you are here for the very, very first time and you've never heard anything about the Christian faith before. Well, you know you don't know. But there will be others of us who think we know when we don't know. Or maybe we've been around in church for a long time, but there's still plenty about God you don't know, just like there's plenty about God that I don't know. So we need to be humble and say, actually, I still want to learn. I still expect that there are going to be some things that Paul has to say to the people in Athens that I don't know anything about yet. So I'm going to be humble and listen and ready to understand new things. Would you do that? And secondly, would you be eager? See, will it matter to you? Will this feel really, really important? Working out who God is and getting him in the right place. Because it could be that many of us actually have one of these things as top priority in our lives and we don't even realize it. That we are worshipping something other than God and we can't even see it. But maybe as we discover who God really is, that'll begin to become clear. And then we'll get him where he's supposed to be. So the next week, because we're going to look at the first few verses from verse 24 onwards next week, maybe you want to read through this speech. It's a very famous speech. Lots has been written about it. Lots has been thought about it. Paul had wonderful things to say. You might want to read it through a few times before next Sunday, and then again over the summer as we think about these words.